Waited 2 minutes more to 3 minutes more.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our weekly ICNA ILF, the Understanding the Quran series. And today we are going to continue Surah Yusuf. And inshallah, today we are covering ayat 58 to 68, and Sheikh Abdur Rahman, inshallah, going to present.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. My dear respected brothers and sisters, viewers all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today we will be covering the verses 58 to 68 of Surah Yusuf. And remember, this is now him reaching back with his brothers. And so it now the story takes a new twist or a new turn. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وجاء إخوة يوسف فدخلوا عليه فعرفهم وهم له منكرون. So now when the hardship comes to the whole surrounding areas, the brothers of Joseph came to Egypt for grains and ended up before him. He recognized them, whereas they were unaware of him. And so what they know of their brother, this was like decades ago. They know they had brother Yusuf, their brother Yusuf, and they threw him in a well. And in their mind, someone may have found him. Most likely he is a slave somewhere, or perhaps he had died because that's they wanted to get rid of him. But not in their mind at all that he will be the minister in charge of grains for the whole of Egypt and its surrounding areas. So that's why they did not pay much attention to him when they came in. And obviously they are more interested in their grains. You look at somebody, oh, he might have resembled somebody I know, but nothing to realize that this is their brother. Whereas obviously Yusuf recognized them, and it was a good amount of them that came, maybe all of them except his last brother Benjamin. So he recognized his brothers. And if you notice, the this is the Egypt area here, and these are the areas where the uh, you know Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam and his children were living in this area. Remember, those areas the land did not change, whether it was 2-3 thousand years ago. The land did not change. Boundaries change, but places are where they are. And so they just had to cross over and get into Egypt for those grains that they so badly need. And so the drought had reached the area of Canaan or Canaan, land of Canaan or Canaan, where Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam and his children resided. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam efficiently guarded the harvest and collected it. And what he collected became a great fortune for the people, because this was what the dream was all about. You will have 7 bumper crops or harvest, big harvest, and then after that you will get this famine. And when this famine comes, you will eat from what you have saved for that 7 years. So this was 7 years of grains that were stored, and now it is time to distribute those grains or sell them for money. And this allowed Yusuf alayhi salam to give gifts to people who sought his aid from various areas, who came to buy food for their family. So not only did he take some money and some commodities from them, but if people were poor and they needed some grain, he also would help them in the process. And Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam would not give a family more than whatever a camel could carry as an annual provision for them. So he would ration, because he also has to control that grain in such a way that it cannot run out. If it runs out, then there is nothing to eat, and people's life will be in danger. So he also has to monitor that grain in such a way that a camel load, people will have to ration themselves to smaller quantities until this famine is over. And it is said that Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam and the people of Egypt ate very little. Okay, so not because the grains were in Egypt, but they also ate very little. And by so doing, the people could sustain themselves with what they had for the remainder of 7 years. And 7 years is a long time. If you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, uh, toilet paper was in shortage, bounty was in shortage, a few things were in shortage, and people already became so confused. Where am I going to get supply? What am I going to do? And this was just like only maybe a month or so, or a month or two, and the panic began. You would hear that people, our memory is very short lived, but during that pandemic, even stores were not restocking, or they did not have enough goods to restock. And so you find that there was some panicking in during this time. So you can imagine what happens for 7 years. And so they themselves had to ration themselves in order to be able to sustain themselves till this famine is over. Yusuf's brothers were among those who came to Egypt to buy food supplies by the order of their fathers. Go and they heard, obviously, you know, news would have spread around that there is storage in Egypt that is selling some grains, and go and get some grains. And little do they realize who is in charge of those grains. And so they knew that the Aziz of Egypt was selling food to people who needed, and it is for a low price. They were not like making big, huge fee out of that. So there was no monopoly and hoarding of that. They were just releasing it to people according to their needs. And so they took some merchandise from their land with them to exchange it for the food. And there were 10 of them because Yaqub kept his son Binyamin with him. So Binyamin and Yusuf were the last two, and they were from the same mother. And so, Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam kept them very close to him, and especially after the absence of Yusuf, that he kept even a closer eye with Benjamin. And this is generally something within families, that the last child or the last two children, especially in a big family, not that they are spoiled, but they do get a lot of attention, and especially if they have good akhlaq, if they have good mannerisms, and so forth, like Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam and Benjamin. And this sometimes bring a lot of animosity. That was what this whole story of Yusuf is about, and that brings envy. And so one of the lessons we learn here as parents, that it is important that you do not show this preferential love for children, especially if you notice that they are sibling rivalry. It can create a lot of tension long after they have grown up, long after they have grown up. This sibling rivalry does not end that quickly. And that feeling of the little one or this one that is being preferred over them uh, becomes, remember the first crime that took place on earth where Cain killed Abel, because of this envious feeling. Shaitan, Iblis, it was out of envy that he refused to bow to Adam when he was commanded to by Allah. So this envious feeling is there, and as parents, you have to monitor that feeling. Okay. Um, فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ فَعَرَفَهُمْ وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. So his brothers entered on him, and he knew them the minute he saw them. So it means even as a minister, he was, um, working with the servants around him to make sure. So he himself was participating and uh, you know uh, being in that environment where people will come bring their commodity, and that transaction will be taking place. So it's not like he now a minister and he's relaxing somewhere, but he's hands on what is going on with the grains. And so, however, they did not recognize him because they got rid of him when he was young. This is in their mind. And he had some conversation with them, and they told him that one of the brothers died in the desert, and the youngest one was left behind with their father. What a conversation! Huh? Can you imagine? He saw them, obviously. He has a lot of self restraint. He does not just burst out and said, "Oh, you're my brothers. I'm so glad I saw all of you," and so forth. No, as a someone who has gone through what he has gone through, he had some conversation with them, and he told them they told him, oh, they had some. Maybe he asked them, "Do you have more brothers?" Because these were 10 brothers that showed up. That, "Do you have more brothers?" And they said, "Yeah, one of them died in the desert, and the youngest one, which is Benjamin, he was left with their father." So obviously they did not recognize him. Maybe, again, we have to imagine a thing or two. While this is not the essence or the lesson of the story, but you will imagine that maybe in those days they wrapped their faces from the dust of the grains and so forth. So they did not get look at him. He saw them, so he's the one who is dealing with the grains. Could be, these are just our imagination. And so he did honor them and give them good treatment without telling them who he was. And so verses 59 to 61, we read, وَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُم بِجَهَازِهِمْ قَالَ ائْتُونِي بِأَخٍ لَكُم مِّنْ أَبِيكُمْ أَلَا تَرَوْنَ أَنِّي أَوْفِي الْكَيْلَ وَأَنَا خَيْرُ الْمُنزِلِينَ. So after all of what he has done, when he had provided them with their supplies according to their need, he said, bring this certain brother of yours from your father. And he meant Benjamin or Benjamin. Do you not see that I give full measure and I am the best host? So he treated them in a nice way so that they will return back to him. And remember, this is 7 years. This is 7 years of drought that is there. Maybe this is the second year or so forth. And so he said, must bring that brother of yours that you're talking about. I want to see him basically. And obviously he was delighted to see his brother. And so he wanted to see Benjamin. And in a nice way, he requested them to bring Benjamin without raising any, doubts. But in order for them to take him seriously, he threatened not to give them any grain unless they bring him back next time. You know, that that should ring a bell with them, but and then we're gonna see what happens. فَإِن لَّمْ تَأْتُونِي بِهِ فَلَا كَيْلَ لَكُمْ عِندِي وَلَا تَقْرَبُونَ. So this is a threat that he has given to them. But if you do not bring him to me on your return, I will have no supplies of corn for you, neither will you approach me. So don't even come near to me, and I will have no supplies of corn for you. So this was some order that he is giving to them, and again, he doesn't want to arouse their. He is still gauging how they are thinking. Have they changed? Have they, you know, they have been mean to him? What has happened over all these years? قالوا سنراود عنه أباه وإنا لفاعلون. So they said, we will try to get the permission from his father meaning their father as well, and surely we promise we will. Like, we will definitely do that. So it was a deal. It was a deal. Now, you may want to know, well, how does this deal happen when there will be so many people, so many, you know, uh, uh, inhabitants in Egypt and around Egypt that will come and will interact with Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, and why would he remember, or how can he remember all of this details? People, you may want to wonder, or even the brothers should, if they were um, thinking deeply, they will wonder, well, why is it that he wants to see this little brother of ours, and how will he remember, that we are the people who will come back maybe months, if not a year after. But this is, again, you see, they had very good memory. That's one of the things that you have to understand. They had good memory. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam had very good memory. So he is telling them, and he's zeroing in on them, that you have to bring that brother. Bring him and you will get the grain. If you don't bring him, no grains. And so, what a moment he is seeing his brothers uh, going away with this promise of bringing Benjamin. And so, verse 62, وقال لفتيانه اجعلوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم لعلهم يعرفونها إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم لعلهم يرجعون. So then Joseph said to his servants, put their commodities which they brought for the corn, their exchange that they brought, put it back in their bags, and so they may not know when they get back, or rather, they might know it when they get back to their family. So at that point in time, they will not know, because their bags will be filled of grains, and just push their whatever money or leather, whatever they brought, put it back in their bag, and then go back to their family, and perhaps they might come again. So this is his strategy. This is his thought process as a wise person. This is his thought process. If I put back the commodity that they brought, or their exchange that they have brought, I put it back in their bag, and I tell them that you have to come with your brother and you will get. So it makes it easy now for them to say, yeah, oh, this is it. We have our money, we have everything to go back for, to make another trip for that. And so Yusuf told his servant, Ij'alu bida'atahum, put their money or their merchandise they brought with them to exchange for the food back into their load of corn. And they did not know that this is what happened. They did not know. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, in order that they might come again. And it was said that Yusuf alayhi salam did this because he feared that his brothers might not have any more merchandise they could bring with them to exchange for food. Remember, he was the head of the grains, and he had full authority, what he can and what he cannot do. He had the full authority over that. And so he had that ability to say, okay, I'll give you back your money, which he did to other people. If they were poor and they come for grains, he will not turn them away. Remember, this is a messenger of Allah. And so he wanted to meet his younger brother and the rest of his family, and this is perhaps his only chance of doing so. And you can imagine this sabr, the level of sabr of this great human being. I mean, perhaps if he had exposed himself and said, I'm Yusuf, and you know, only Allah knows what would have been the outcome of them going back to their father and may not want to say that this is Yusuf. They may want to hide that information. Allahu alam. But in this way, it is obviously he's guided by Allah what to do to get his family, to get everybody back again. So in this way, he thought that this was the best thing to do. فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل فأرسل معنا أخانا نقتل وإنا له لحافظون. Okay, so when they returned to their father, they said, oh father, no more measure of grain we will get in future unless we take our brother. So send our brother Benjamin with us so that we might get our measure of corn and we will surely protect him. Okay, look at this word. This word came in the beginning of the surah with Yusuf himself when they said they will protect him from any harm. And subhanallah, look how this is a deja vu moment with Prophet Yusuf, that this has exactly what happened. They said, okay, we're going to protect him. Okay. In the beginning of the surah, أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لحافظون. The same word used. We will protect him. Send him with us tomorrow to enjoy himself and play, and verily we will take care of him. So again, they're using back the same word that we are going to protect him. We are going to take care of him. And so they are now telling their father exactly what they said before with Prophet Yusuf. The only difference is that this time they are truthful. That time was a plot. Okay? That time with Yusuf was a plot to get rid of him. This time it's not a plot. They are truthful when they said they will protect him. قال هل آمنكم عليه إلا كما أمنتكم على أخيه من قبل فالله خير حافظا وهو أرحم الراحمين. And so Yaqub alayhi salam said, am I to entrust him to you the same way I had trusted you before regarding your brother Joseph? So as a father, remember, he has not given up his hope on Prophet Yusuf. And so he is kind of reprimanding them here and reminding them. And what a reminder at this point in time. Okay, this is a strong reminder that, oh, you want me to entrust you the same way I had trusted you before regarding his brother Joseph, and then what did you come back and tell me, basically? So it was kind of a moment of reflection, that what did you do with him? And then he said, but Allah is the best protector and he is the most merciful of those who show mercy. So forget about your protection. Allah will protect. If it has to happen, it has to happen, that he is going to go with you. But you are not the ones who are going to protect him. Allah is the one that will protect him. So it was a kind of a strong reprimanding. And think about it. If you lose a child to the carelessness of your other children, how more cautious you will be of letting another one go in a similar manner as that one has gone. And subhanallah, the patience, oh my God, subhanallah, the patience of the greatest souls that Allah has placed on this earth, some of the greatest souls. Look at the patience that they have. Look at their mannerism. They are reprimanding, but yet their reprimanding is so beautiful with the tawheed of Allah, with the connecting back with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, you have a father's feeling, but you also have your aqidah with Allah. So he said, Fallahu khayrun hafidha. Allah is the best of protector. So in as much as this circumstance comes to him, he does not forget his belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he does not allow just his fatherly love for Yusuf and for Binyamin to overtake him at a moment when the aqidah is also needs to be told. And this is the tarbiyah that we have to give our children. This is the tarbiyah that, you know, let's say, la samhallah, may Allah forbid, but they get into some trouble, get into an accident, for example. Um, you warn them not to let this happen again. Make sure you service your vehicle and so forth. But remember that Allah is the best of protector. So you bring back whatever has happened back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a tarbiyah that we have to try to implement within our family. So basically, will you do with him what you did to his brother Yusuf before, when you took him away from me and separated me from him? So Prophet Yaqub still hopes to see his son again in his old age, and he's not giving up. This is another tarbiyah for our as Muslims. We just do not give up hope. If there is nothing, you know, sure, for sure he passed away, or for sure he died or something, so long as there is possibility of him being alive, and from him being, you know um, possibility of him still being alive, then subhanallah, that hope still lives on. And this is a hope that Prophet Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam had. فَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ حَافِظًا وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Allah is the protector, and He is the most merciful of those who show mercy. Then in verse 65, فَلَمَّا فَتَحُوا مَتَاعَهُمْ وَجَدُوا بِضَاعَتَهُمْ رُدَّتْ إِلَيْهِمْ قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا مَا نَبْغِي هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا ونمير أهلنا ونحفظ أخانا ونزداد كيل بعير ذلك كيل يسير. So when they opened their bags, they found that their money had been returned to them. Now they see the money. All the time they were saying, send him and send him back. But now they're seeing the money. They said, oh Father, what more can we desire? Look, our money has been returned to us. So we can give more food to our family, and we will guard our brother and get a camel's load extra. This quantity will be easily secured. So now look at the wording here, and inshallah let's get down to it. So what more can we ask for? Our merchandise was returned to us, and the Aziz, the minister, has given us sufficient load that we wanted. What is better than that? And they said next, وَنَمِيرُ أَهْلَنَا, and we shall get more food for our family. So if you send him with us, if you send Benjamin with us, we will get more food for our family, and we will protect him. Don't worry about that. We will protect him. And they said these words to make their case more appealing, saying that taking their brother with them is worth this gain. Now, what is the parallel here with the two scenarios? The scenario of Yusuf and the scenario of Benjamin. For Yusuf, they were envious, okay, of him. So what had happened? They did evil. They wanted to kill him because that was a case of envy. This case is a case of his love for material gain. And they're thinking about this load of grain that they will get, and this is an easy catch, so to speak. This is an easy catch that they're going to have, easy load of corn. And so because now there is a material gain here, they want to do good, and so they're behaving nicely. They're behaving nicely with Binyamin, truthful to their father. Whereas in Prophet Yusuf case, they had evil plots and plan, and they acted in a very deceptive way to their father, and the outcome was very evil. See the two scenario, where there is money, where there is material gain, you stand upright. When it's envy, you can kill, you can harm, and it is your own blood, and you don't care. This is reality. This is reality of the life in which we live in this world. And so people live this two-sided lifestyle. Greed for worldly gains could cause them to do, even if it means to be correct, humbling themselves. Oh, they're humble. While envy destroys, like Iblis and all the stories that we hear about envy. And then verse 66, قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتوني موثقا من الله لا تأتونني به إلا أن يحاط بكم فلما آتوه موثقهم قال الله على ما نقول وكيل. He, Jacob, said, I will not he, Jacob, said, I will not send him with you until you give me an oath in Allah's name that you will bring him back to me, unless you are yourselves totally overpowered by enemies. So all of you will have to go down. So basically, you have to give me some oath in Allah's name that you're going to bring him back, unless all of you are, overpowered. And when they had taken that their solemn oath, he said, Allah is a witness to what we have said. So he brought Allah as a witness to this agreement, to this oath, that they will make sure that nothing happens to Benjamin unless they themselves are overtaken. Again, this is, as a just person, you cannot give a person to take an oath of things that he may not have the ability to do. And so this also teaches us that when you have to make any oath, any agreement, there has to be some leverage that the person may not be able to fulfill. He must have a way out for that. Other than that, he is bound. Without that, without that clause, he will be bound. They will be bound to protect him. Whereas Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam is saying, unless you yourself are being overpowered where you cannot protect him anymore. So Ibn Ishaq commented Yaqub did that because he had no choice but to send them to bring necessary food supplies for their survival. So he sent Binyamin with them. And just think of the desperation here. The 10 sons are convincing the father that, look, we're going to get more food. We need more food. You want more food. And just send him with us, and we will take care of him. We will take care of everything. And I'm sure they also make all the oath that they can with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they will bring him back safe. وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون. Subhanallah. This ayah is so powerful with you know, filled with aqidah, filled with aqidah, that you have to do what you can do in your human capacity and put your trust in Allah. He said, "O my sons, all of you should not enter from the same gate, but enter from different gates." This is what, in our human capacity, as a father speaking to his now 11 children, 11 sons, you're going there, don't go through one gate, just go through different gates. I cannot save you against Allah with this advice. No one can decide the outcome of events except Allah. In Him I put my trust, and those who place their trust must rely on Him alone. Subhanallah. This is what tawakkul in Allah means. You try all your human capacity, all your human strengths and abilities, and put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this prophet is saying to his sons, do this, and again he knows that the outcome is with Allah. But as a father, you take that off your chest to know that this is a statement between the responsibility of a human and placing your trust in Allah, between the advice as a father and the advice as a messenger of Allah, between our plan and submitting to the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very powerful. This is extremely a powerful tarbiyah for us, that sometimes we feel we are smart. Sometimes we feel we are in control of things. At the end of everything, my dear brothers and sisters, it is Allah. It is Allah who is in control. And we try our best, but put your trust in Allah indeed. Several Mufassirin said that Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam feared the evil eye for them, because these 11 children, they were handsome and they looked beautiful and graceful. You can imagine Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, as Prophet described him, to have half the beauty of all of humanity. These are his brothers. So they are extremely good looking. They're extremely, handsome and graceful. What they did, in their early time, but this is their intrinsic qualities. And so he's afraid that evil eye for them, or he feared that people might, notice them and follow them. Or it could just be a strategy of not being noticed, like if 10, 11 brothers are now marching in with their camel and so forth, everybody looks at them. So it could be that this is the better reason for us to think. But he warned them about that. وَمَا أُغْنِي أَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. I cannot avail you against Allah at all. So this precaution will not resist Allah's decision and appointed decree. So you try your best, but always keep in mind that whatever Allah wills cannot be resisted or stopped. And the final verse, فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ أَبُوهُمْ مَا كَانَ يُغْنِي عَنْهُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا حَاجَةً فِي نَفْسِ يَعْقُوبَ قَضَاهَا وَإِنَّهُ لَذُو عِلْمٍ لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Then when they entered, they followed their father's instruction. And they entered as their father instructed them. But it did not avail them against Allah at all, except it was Yaqub's wish which he wanted to express. Again, as parents, we want to express some of our wishes, some of our requests for our children. But at the end of all of this, my dear brothers and sisters, it is the will of Allah that will prevail. And indeed, Yaqub was blessed with knowledge because of what we taught him. But most people do not know. And so they once again entered the granaries, but their plan did not work out. And as Muslims, we make our plan and put our trust in Allah. And it is only what Allah wills is bound to happen. The story ends up at a climax here, and next week, whichever other of our learned brothers, inshallah, will share what happens when they now appear in front of Prophet Yusuf. So I don't want to, you know, give a prelude to that, but it's a beautiful, beautiful lessons we have learned from these ayat today. So we will close here, and if there is any questions, I'll be more than happy to. Um, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, jazakallah khair, Sheikh Abdur Rahman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. So,
Ameen.
inshallah, in terms of the questions, so the first question is we talked about sibling rivalry, and there's an important role as parents to be very mindful of this. What are some advices that you have for the parents that are listening to this, or parents to be? What's the best way to, approach this issue of sibling rivalry and really try best not to, promote it? What are the
Yeah.
tips?
A good question. The thing is that you have to give attention to all of them, and you have to be fair with all of them. You have to show importance of all of them. From the time you start putting too much attention on one, for whatever quality he may have, and yes, as parents, we do like the qualities that our children have who excel in certain things. But if you put down the others, or you put down one of them and you say mean things to one of them, and the others you kind of praise and give highest descriptions and commendations and so forth, then they will feel that. They will definitely feel that. And I think also we should have conversation with our children that don't think I love this one more than you, or I love you more than less than that one. No. Sometimes this conversation is necessary that we have with our children so that they don't feel the pain of second class. They must all feel important. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, and we do not play down on their weakness on one and the strength on the other. 'Cause this is the recipe for this kind of envious feeling.
Jazakallah khair. We learned an important tarbiyah lesson today from Yaqub alayhi salam about not giving up hope. What is your advice how we can raise our expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our du'as and otherwise?
Yeah, hope is something, and this will come back towards the as we progress in the surah. That hope is not that we do not give up hope when we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of everything. We are going through tough time in this Muslim ummah in so many different areas. And it's easy to become in a state of despair, that you lose hope. Where is Allah? Why is this not happening the way that we expect it to happen? Why our brothers and sisters are being, killed the way they're being killed? Why is this genocide going on almost coming to a year now? And sometimes we lose hope because we do not estimate Allah Azza wa Jal with the right estimation. And so hope lives on when the soul is filled with iman. That hope lives on. Look at Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How much he suffered, and yet he hoped that those people will become Muslims one day, and they did. They did. Prophet Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam is hoping that he will still see his son somehow, somewhere. He had this, you know, premonition, this feeling, this inner uh, feeling that I will see my son, that my son perhaps is not dead. I will see him. And with that trust in Allah and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is part of our aqeedah actually, to have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should not give up.
Jazakallah khair. When Yaqub alayhi salam was speaking to his 11 sons, and they made the oath that they will protect Binyamin. What is the lesson here in terms of being able to trust the oath of others? Yaqub alayhi salam, could have trusted them. He could have not trusted them. How do we deal with the oaths of others when people make promises to us and we may be suspicious of those promises, whether they're real, they're not real? How should we approach them?
Yeah, so we don't have the knowledge of the unseen, and so there is a level of trust that we should have when someone takes an oath. And we also should know that if you take an oath and you are unjust to that oath, or you are deceptive to that oath, that you will have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's treasury that you have, then you will have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answer for your treasury or your evil intention that you have. But there's certain level that we do not know. We have to take it on its face value, that this person is taking oath that he has done so or has not done so, or will do so, will not do so. We will have to take that as face value.
So the general rule is if somebody makes an oath, promises something, we shouldn't
By Allah,
question.
calling the name of Allah, then we should not read into their niyyah. Yeah.
And then the last question. We talked about evil eye. We talked about how Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers were handsome. And there's this fear of evil eye. Now, many parents also have this concern about their children, handsome. What do I do to protect them from the evil eye? And, there'll be certain measures that sometimes people do. They may put like a dot on the cheek, black dot. They may wear something on the child. What is permissible? What's not permissible here?
Yeah. So, things that have jahiliyyah aspect of seeking protection of something that is created, like wearing something or putting a dot and so forth. These are things that should be avoided completely. What should be done is, recitation of Surah Fatiha and the quotes, Ayat al-Kursi. These are the sunnah way of seeking protection from the evil eye. Evil eye does have impact on the way we will live, how it impacts us emotionally, even medically. Sometimes evil eye can make you fall sick, and so the what you call the ruqya shar'iyya, to have that incantation done on that person for preventing that evil from affecting him or her, then that should be practiced. And there's a lot of, the books that are sunnah, and that one can read. But the simple thing is like reading the Surah Fatiha, beginning of Baqarah, Ayat al-Kursi, end of Surah Baqarah, part of Surah Safat, the end of Surah Hashr, the end of Surah Qalam, Noon wal Qalam, or at the end of that surah, and the close, and you blow it on yourself. There's also some dua, some masnoon dua. So that's a huge topic. It's a huge industry as well too. I can tell you that a lot of people have been, charging huge sum of money for this kind of duas and so forth.
But in summary, I think what you're saying, just correct me if I got this wrong, but I think it's duas and Quran should be the approach to protection from the evil eye, as opposed to, objects or things like that.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. So may Allah reward you. With that, we'll end today's session. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Sadaqallahu azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar.